when these conservatives, they trash industry, they trash the markets, they don't really understand that they're not really trashing markets. They're trashing people who've been co-opted by the regime. They're usually, they don't have much interest in how markets work or how capital works, so they can't even really tell the difference between a new entrepreneur who builds up a large successful business and someone who's living off subsidies from the government. That's very hard for them to understand a lot of the time. And so they don't make that important distinction. There's the productive class and there's the parasite class. And the conservatives don't make that distinction properly. There's just industry, and then there's people who want to live like farmers on the open land, like it's the 13th century or something. They have this romantic view of how everybody should be living, when the reality, the distinction that matters from classical liberal exploitation theory, which the Marxists then ripped off and created this idea that people are exploited by the capitalists. The reality is the exploitation is simply one of people allied with the regime who use regulation and taxes to rip off the productive classes. So those are the two classes you need to worry about, productive and parasite. And some people involved in industry are parasites, some are not. Everyone involved in government's a parasite, and they're in league with a lot of the people involved in quote-unquote private business. And so that's what you need to be on the lookout for. That's the difference between a good entrepreneur and a bad entrepreneur. And, as far as I can tell, some libertarians, some classical liberals are the only people who are really properly making that distinction right now. But that's what we have to look out for, because you cannot just look out and say, oh, this person's, they're head of a private business. They must be some lover of capitalism. So many private businesses, heck, their only client a lot of the time is the government. Think of these construction firms that build roads or government-owned sewage treatment plants, right? They don't have a single private sector customer. Think of that horrible company that makes like voting machines, right? Which is now suing for being defamed, right? They're basically a government agency. And then all these private weapons firms, or Eric Prince with his mercenary firm. We're supposed to act like these people are princes of capitalism. They've never made an honest buck in decades because they're all living off taxpayer funds. So we do need to have a more sophisticated view of what the markets are and just how much of it's also being financialized by central banks, that is, by the regime, and that you need to just be more discerning in what's laissez-faire, what's not, who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, because the way it is right now, people are getting it very, very wrong.